Yes, so 19 years ago, I took the family up to Rainbow's End for a weekend, and during that time, we had a shower of rain, and so there was a whole group of people that um, sheltered under a tree. And when they all dispersed, it was just myself and a lady standing there, and I heard God say very, very clearly, "Speak to this lady." I was suffering mild depression, and the last thing I wanted was to talk to a stranger. But God said, "Just speak to her." So my argument with God was, well, what can I say to a lady I don't know? And He said, "Just speak, I'll give you the words." So I turned to this woman and I said, "My boys are so big, I don't recognise them on the roller coaster anymore." And her reply was, "Mine are so small, I can't see them." And from there, we established that she had just immigrated to New Zealand, was moving to Tauranga, and knew nobody in New Zealand at all. And so I said to her, "Well, where in Tauranga are you living?" And it turned out she was living about a kilometre away from where we lived. And so I gave her my phone number and said, "When you move to Tauranga, give me a phone call and we'll catch up for a coffee if you need a friend," because I felt that that was what God was laying on my heart strongly, was that this woman would need a friend, so I could be her friend until she found a better one.
Yes, well, I had emigrated, and we'd be going through the emigration process for about 3 months, and during that 3 months I was also suffering depression because I was giving up my friends, my family, my job, everything I'd ever known. And we came to Auckland, and it was all very different and just beginning to settle, and then we knew we were moving to Tauranga. So we took the boys to Rainbow's End for a day out, a bit of fun day out. And then this is when I had this meeting with Coleen. And at the time it was really nice, but I was in such a dark place. I thought, well, she doesn't mean it, and I'll ring her, and yeah, she makes some excuse, she can't remember me, and it won't happen. So anyway, when we got to Tauranga, she'd written her name on the back of a business card, and I didn't know whether it was just a piece of paper she found in her handbag, but it was actually her husband's business card, and he ran an aerial business. And at the time we just bought a TV, and we couldn't get the TV working. So I thought, well, I'll ring this number, and if it is her husband, that's great. If it's not, he might be able to point me in the right direction. So I rang, and very friendly guy answered the phone, Mark, and he said, "Yep, look, I'll be with you in 5 minutes, stick the jug on," which was just a joke to an English person, because you just don't do that. Anyway, he turned up, and lovely guy, and got the TV going in about 2 minutes. Sat down and had a coffee with us. Wouldn't take any money for his call out, which amazed us as well, that he just did it for the goodness of his heart. And I mentioned that I'd got this card, and his wife had said, give me a ring. But I said, look, that was 6 weeks ago. She won't even remember who I am. And he said, no, look, he said, if Coleen said that, Coleen means it. Please do it. So I rang, and I got the answer phone. I didn't know at the time Coleen was actually away for a few days. So I left this really garbled message, actually almost hoping she wouldn't ring me back, because I felt embarrassed. And anyway, look, she did ring me back, and we arranged a day for her to come round and see me in my rental. I didn't really know the area, so it was better that she came to me. And it was pouring with rain that day, and I woke up and I was just in such a dark hole. I certainly did not want to see this new person and entertain her, and couldn't even remember what she looked like, couldn't remember anything about it. And the doorbell rang, and I actually thought to myself, look, I actually won't answer the door, and she'll think I've gone out, I've forgotten, and that'll be the end of it. And it was pouring with rain, and I peeped out, and there was this lady standing, getting wet because the porch wasn't very big, with a bunch of flowers and some baking in her hand. And I thought, oh look, I can't ignore this. So I opened the door, and she came in and put her baking down, and put the flowers down she bought me, and I just burst into tears. And she just enveloped me with her arms and just hugged me and hugged me. Oh, I'm feeling up now. And yeah, just basically that was the start of a really good friendship. And she didn't talk to me about God or Jesus or church or anything. She just loved me for me, and she was there for me. She was there for my family. She was there in a practical sense. And she was just a really good friend when I really needed one. And I didn't realise at the time that they had actually folded up their business and they were actually planning on moving from Tauranga after I just met her. So she, after a few visits, she introduced me to some friends of hers who also went to the church. And I think at that point we did talk about church, and I did ask Coleen lots of questions because I'd had a very staunch view of church. And Coleen's church actually sounded like fun, and yeah. So I met a couple, and they came over, and they began to be real practical in helping me and really just establishing me living in New Zealand and finding my way around. And then this gentleman, he actually led me to the Lord one day. He prayed for me and led me to the Lord, and which I was ready for. Thinking back, I was ready for it. I'd been seeking it. And Coleen had then since moved to the South Island, and we stayed in touch, and we've been great friends ever since. And I continued my journey with the Lord. I was water baptized, and just gone on from strength to strength. But we've stayed really good friends ever since, and I always remember that day. And God placed Coleen in the right place at the right time.
Well, for me, it just reminds me that when we've got nothing ourselves, God steps in and He does it. He fills the gap that we have. And like for me, as I say, I was suffering mild depression. I didn't want to talk to a stranger. I didn't know what to say, and He opened the door. I just had to be the willing vessel. And I find even now when Carol, now and again, she may call me and say, can you help me? Can you pray for me? And God gives me what she needs when she needs it.
Well, he was just so gentle in the way he orchestrated the whole thing. Whereas if Coleen had mentioned church or Jesus or anything like that, I would have just run a mile. But it was just God's love through Coleen and putting me in touch with equal Christians that also just loved me. That's what drew me to Him. And I learned that God is all about love, not all about religion.
Awesome. Hey, thank you both so much.